Oscar, thanks for joining me today. And I'd like to begin before PowerBox ever existed. Tell us your story.
Thank you, Josué. It's very nice to be here. I've been in this industry, energy industry, for a long time, pretty much my whole career, around 14 years. I started in Costa Rica. I am from Costa Rica originally. Initially, my first job was going into facilities, industrial facilities, and help the manufacturers, the businesses behind these facilities understand why is it difficult to manage the quality and the cost of their energy. And very early, I identified that new technologies, particularly distributed technologies like batteries and solar and things like that, were going to be the key differentiator. That really inspired me back then, and I decided to pursue a career on that. And that's what eventually led to having PowerBox.
Wow. So you could say that you really started from the ground up because you were one that was also understanding the technology before even coming with the idea of starting something or solving a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. I first actually was exposed to the problem, very deep into the problem. Then I started seeing that the opportunities with technology to satisfy that problem, but it was a matter of timing. The technologies were not mature enough, were too expensive, the incentives were not there. The general knowledge from the population also was low. So it just took a lot of time. I'm gonna say at least 10 years to get to this point where it's finally all making sense for these type of customers.
So definitely you were a visionary because you've said that this is a 14 years in the making. So along the way, what frustrated you so much that you decided that someone had to build a better solution?
Yeah, I would say one thing is that these industries typically are the biggest consumers. I
Mm.
mean, as a whole, this sector, industrial, is one of the biggest consumers of electricity, and yet there isn't too much focus, right, on supporting them. These environments are complex, they are messy, they are all different depending of what product they run, what operation they have, where they are located as a region. Also, these customers are continuously just very busy with the thing they care about, which is build. They don't care. They don't have the time to think about these other things. They only have the time to think about the right now. The operators of those facilities typically every day they're just continuously putting down fires and fixing things, and they don't really have the time to think about those long-term investments, right? So I would say that was the frustrating part is getting into seeing how complicated it is, how important it is to optimize energy usage, but then also continuously not going in that direction of making an investment or going fully into improving that part of the operation. And yeah, that's a big part of the context of why I started PowerBox and the way we do things.
Thank you so much. If you were to explain to my mother or your grandmother, or perhaps your younger brother, a child, what do you do? How would you be able to simplify in words that they can understand the problem you solve and how uniquely you are positioned in this market space of alternative energy?
Yeah, I would say the closest example for people is their homes, right? I tell them you have a house, right? In your house, you have systems, you have your kitchen, you have your shower. All of these things need electricity, right? And the more you use these things throughout the day, the more money you have to pay. Also, through time, it has become more expensive. And depending on the time of the year, sometimes it is really hot or sometimes it's really cold where we are. That price is going to fluctuate as well. That cost is going to be higher. So just taking that into context and amplifying and thinking, okay, if that is a problem at a small scale as my house, how big of a problem it is at the scale of a big manufacturing plant that uses 1,000 times or thousands of times more energy, more electricity than what we use at home. And that just gives a very good idea of the dimension, the scale of the problem, and why it is so important. So we are helping these facilities and their usage of electricity, and then be able to plan and improve those systems for a longer term and a longer optimization of what they produce.
Thank you so much. That's the theory. Now, how do you do this? Do you plug some kind of device on the ultimate output? I mean, systems are so much integrated. How do you come to not only understand their output or maybe their uses of energy, but how does this all work?
Yeah, so we have taken an interesting approach that differentiates us. Companies in this space typically have some type of software only based solution where it is the manufacturer's job to go and plug in their data as if they exactly knew, or they have to go and see their machines and see how much they're consuming and look at the readings and put them in the system, or go and get their electrical bill and plug it in. It's a lot of manual process, and also these people don't have the time for that. So it is more complicated. So the way we're doing it is we provide an end-to-end service where we go and install those devices, those type of meters that take very precise measurements of their different systems. And we integrate all of this together into a centralized platform that continuously tracks, monitors, and analyzes this data. So the first use case is we centralize this data to provide a picture of how things are looking to the customer. Right now, this is what you have, and then provide a plan, a path forward. If you add X, Y, and Z system, this is how your system is going to improve, your operation is going to improve. So our long-term vision is that we are the partner, the technology, and the solution that supports that energy management life cycle of a facility, of a manufacturing environment, from measurements and analytics all the way down to an active management of their energy resources. And we believe this is the right approach with these facilities in particular.
Okay, so thank you so much. So if I can summarize for our guests and for the people that will be listening to the show, the first thing you do is you plug a system or analyzers on the meter to see the output. And then you propose some solutions. And would those solutions be a device of some sort that capture the energy, or what would be the solutions?
The solutions are readily available technologies like batteries, different energy storage technologies, sometimes on-site renewable sources like solar, wind, and some other new technologies that are just getting into the market, like biogas type of generators or hydrogen type of fuel cells, all of these different technologies. The gap right now is that the customers just don't fully understand how these things work, how much it's going to be investment, how easy it is going to be integrated with their facility. And that's the gap that we're closing with our approach.
Thank you so much. Now, every startup eventually has to answer one difficult question. Does anyone actually want this? How did you answer that question?
Yeah, I would say on our side, the interest is super high. I mean, I have dedicated my life to this, but then more recently, I've been full time doing this. And every time I do a customer discovery call or talk to a facility, this is the same problems come over and over and over. The issue, let's say, more grounded to what a startup is and how it operates, is that you're proposing new things. And with this type of customers, there is always a risk. Every decision, everything that you put into their operation, it's a risk. So it takes a lot of time to go over those friction points and then go into implementing something. Our model, our approach also has been designed around that, because if we were doing things the regular way, we will just come up with the batteries and say, hey, here are the batteries, buy them. And then you're going to get 1 out of 100, right? But if you go and you say, let's start from the ground up, first taking measurements, understanding your facility, first, and then you will have the full system, a proper plan, then you're going to have much more success rates there. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing more companies interested in doing that. Lower stakes, let's say, investments, lower risk to then justify those larger investments in the future. So yeah, I would say interest is great. It has taken some time to get what I continuously call get inside the factory, but we're finally doing that with the current customers we have.
Thank you so much. So you would say that you were able to build trust in such a young company as yours by doing the analysis first, providing the data that makes sense. So it wasn't emotional to your potential customer. It was more so from a analytic standpoint. Now, do you charge for all that work that you're doing at the beginning?
Yeah, strategically, with larger facilities in particular, there is an integration cost. There is some fixed cost to build the infrastructure, but we're really not focusing on that as a business. Our margins and our profit will come from the continuous management and operation of that facility. So for us, it is just like a small investment. We subsidize, let's say, in a way for the customer. It's very low cost for them. So then in the future, they can see the value and then they can engage with us long term. So definitely there is a charge, there is a fixed cost. And then we have a subscription model for our platform that is charged every year. And the idea is that this is not only just a software that we go and deliver and that's it. We will provide the support to continuously use that software and improve their systems and their operations. So added to that, I would say since your company is also in the AI space, I would say that that's where AI becomes such a important, crucial thing right now, because we will be able to scale and support many customers by leveraging AI tools.
Thank you so much. So then how do you build trust? Now, you call the client or the potential client, and what do you say so that they say, yes, sure, you should come over and analyze our system? It has to be very convincing because if they know that there's a cost associated with consultancy, for them to accept that you come on board and analyze their system, how do you convince them?
I mean, I would say early partnerships have been so important for us. Pilots type of implementations. One of our investors are an electrical manufacturer. The owner trusted in our vision, and he also funded a pilot implementation in his facility. So these early implementations with pilots and demonstration places are crucial, really. It's very important to do these things to generate the learnings and the trust. So then we can go into the bigger, larger companies with higher sensitivity to risk, basically just building on that momentum. Now we're finally working with a direct corporate level, a public company and a subsidiary of that public company. And for us, that's going to be very important, right? Because that's going to help us demonstrate to them internally, so then we can scale among the corporation, right? And they have facilities all over the US. So yeah, it's really small steps, things like that, little demonstrations that you just have to execute and do it well and prove that you have great technology. But not only that, really, you have a great team of people and you have reliability, you have the support that the customer will see, okay, this makes sense and let's go deeper into that. Once you are working with one, they are gonna see you as a trustworthy player and want to work with you as well.
Very good. So therefore, you had name recognition by having the first few pilot projects, and that allowed you now to be able to reach out to new clients and let them know this company, perhaps your competitors, have been able to use us and generate a savings while optimizing their output of energy. Could I say that this is pretty much what what differentiate yourself in the early stage of your business to grow?
Yeah, I've been able to show them with data and with some smaller investments, some smaller implementations before the whole thing is done, it's crucial. And I would say that competitors are doing things differently where they have the stuff, the technologies, the systems, and they're pushing it into building them right away into customers. It is less optimal, in my opinion, to do it that way.
Very good. Thank you. Now, obviously, one could wonder, you did not wake up one morning and say, I'm going to start PowerBox. Definitely, you must have had some level of expertise or knowledge. Tell us a little bit about this.
I've been in the energy industry for more than a decade. I've worked in many places, some more academic than others or research oriented. I did a master's in energy systems at the University of Illinois in Champaign. And then I worked for a professor doing research full time, exploring technologies like microgrids, virtual power plants, these type of new technologies in large distributed systems. From there, I started working also for a startup, Boston-based startup, very early technology developer, building microgrid controllers. I was engineer number 3 or number 2, something like that. So I was
Wow.
very early in that. And that exposed me to the world of startups, some early knowledge about how to operate a startup, what is needed to take it from nothing into something. But then I also wanted to have more exposure to a larger corporation or big company. So I also worked directly for an energy storage company, one of the biggest energy storage companies in the world, Varsila, and then also consulting for another large Japanese company. So I've been in the industry, I've worked and I've seen things from different places. But then eventually I decided, okay, now it's time to take it my way. So I always knew there is this segment of the market that was being underserved that I early observed, and I became basically obsessed about it.
Kevin O'Leary once said that in order to be an entrepreneur, one has to be willing to work in the field for someone so that they can really understand the different technology, even if it is to work for free. And really, by what you said, you exemplify this aspect. Now, every technology company is only half the battle, but building a company is something entirely different. So,
Yeah.
with that in mind, what has been the hardest part of growing PowerBox that most people never see?
I would say the simplest answer always is fundraising. And many times it's kind of a chicken and egg situation because in order to show something, you need to have the money to build it.
Yeah.
So it requires some personal sacrifice on my end. From the acquisition of that startup, I make some money and I was able to put in money for our early demonstration. And then just very strategically find those, what they call in theory for startups is early adopters, like those early evangelists, early adopters, first people that believe in you. And when I say you, is you as a person, right? That you have to convince those individuals from a personal side, because that's your main asset in that moment. It's not really what you have built because you have built nothing, right? And even to this day, I would say we're 5% of basically what at least I want to achieve with this company. So very difficult to bridge that initial gap of finding those early adopters who become customers, who become investors. Ideally, it's a mix of both, but it does require creativity and grit and sacrifices to make that happen. And so, yeah, I would say that's the most difficult thing, or at least what has been the most difficult this far, because every stage is also a major challenge. It's very difficult.
Thank you. So you would say that you had to put skin in the game in order to make it work, right?
Skin in the game, skin in the game. Yeah.
If you could look back at the first day you decided to launch PowerBox, would you have changed anything?
Uh, I mean, that's always a funny thing to think because you can always say, yeah, had I known the stuff I know right now, I could go back and change this and that would have been more optimal. But that's just how it is, right? You have to go through the downs and the ups to really learn and make it happen. Like only doing it, you really learn. There's no other way. So for me, taking the jump, the timing right in the moment was crucial for me saying, okay, I'm gonna leave this cushy job and this high salary, take these sacrifices. That was a crucial moment. I don't regret doing it in the moment. Right now, I will say, of course, there are things that I would have done different, but that it's impossible to really know in that moment. So
That's true. Yeah, and where you are now is you've seen the fruit of your labor. Now, you said earlier that you feel you're 5% only of the capacity of what your business can be. So where do you believe PowerBox's biggest bottleneck is today?
I would say between the early adopters of your technology or your solutions to the early majority curve, where you go from that little to that
Mm-hmm.
steeper part. We're building up the momentum with early adopters to the point where we can start thinking about that next step of scalability. What we're already identifying now is being able to scale.
Where would you believe that PowerBox would benefit the most? Would it be from sales or capital or awareness of what you do or even marketing or something else?
What you are saying at the end, I think makes the most sense. And now that I have learned myself, awareness, just building awareness is what drives everything. It drives investors, it drives customers. At the end of the day, if you're driving customers, then that's very easy to drive investors, right?
Okay, thank you. So then it leads me to another question. What is your ideal customer today so that you can get this awareness?
Yeah, the ideal type of client is a manufacturing type of a company that has a very expensive operation in terms of the energy it takes, with also a lot of issues in terms of reliability, maintaining good operations with that electricity and that energy, and willing to put in money into making it into improving that, right? Having the problem, but also being sensitive to the problem enough that they care to pay and make the investment.
Uh-huh.
And just to give particular examples, companies that manufacture metals, steel, paper goods like cardboard, glass, very heavy processes, car manufacturing as well. All of these places have these things in common. So that's who we're trying to target.
Very good. Thank you so much for explaining some of the best customer for your business. Now, currently, how do you bring awareness for your company? Is it shows, road shows, or perhaps phone or word of mouth? Or are you using a certain technology for you, such as AI, to to put the word out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, just speaking about my experience in particular, I spent a lot of resources and time trying to do outbound type of reach out, and it was very inefficient. I would say once you have some those early demonstrations and some brands that you can show people that can back you, makes everything very different. And that's what we're doing now. We're executing on those places so we can finally show people with data and success stories. But I believe a lot in the pull type of marketing where we generate content, we generate awareness, like me talking to you, having podcasts, going into trade shows, talking word of mouth. That's, of course, the most effective one. Word of mouth, direct recommendations, network and connections. And yeah, working on search engine optimization. Now people don't use Google to search. People use AI to search for stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, just having nice build pipelines to attract people, build the funnel, and end up in conversations. What if it's not the quality and the type of customer you don't have the right fit? It's not gonna end up into a sale. So it's better to have a smaller funnel with higher quality leads, right? Higher quality prospects. So yeah, those are things we're now working towards, and we have a lot of work to do there.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So, have you implement a lead generation program with a targeted funnel as of now, or this is something you're potentially exploring for the future?
No, we have implemented some marketing efforts. We direct reach out and regionally focusing on certain regions, certain parts, but it didn't work out. So I would say now we're designing it differently, where we have the data and the content to start distributing that knowledge and those lessons learned and those little wins. So now we're working on building what you call a program, something more specialized, more specific, more concrete, to attract those customers that we have identified as the biggest customers.
Thank you. Now, if you could leverage your efforts with an agent, or I would say an employee that never sleeps, never tells you I'm sick, never complains, and execute based on your requirement, how would this benefit your company, and how would this be valuable for you?
I, I would say the part that matters the most to me is kind of being able to my ideas, the stuff that I continuously have and think about, being able to put them out there and having the thing understand fully what my ideas are and then scale that, because it's very difficult to do that. Typically, when you work with direct employees or people that you're hiring, there is always a ramp up process. So yeah, I would say there is a lot of efficiency gains with AI these days, where you can train things to think the way you think or to fully understand what you are really, what your purpose, your intention, your message is, and then go from there. So yeah, there is definitely interest on our side to have that type of like agent that you described.
Thank you so much. It has been said, especially now that AI has been more and more the forefront of technology, that there will be two types of entrepreneurs: those who resist the technology and those who embraces it. But what is very interesting is those who embrace the technology as the pioneer of AI and use AI as an agent or an ally will be the ones that will be moving forward, because this is almost like the next revolution, just like the industrialization age. Would you agree with this?
100%. This is happening whether we want it or not. I guess the timing is the big variable here, because there is forces at play with everything, the same way it has happened with everything, even in my industry with energy, but with batteries, with solar, it has taken a lot of dips. But when you see it as a whole, it has just been on the rise, increasing exponentially. And it's the same here. I would say it's a matter of just when, not if it's going to happen. So we better embrace those things early.
Into the alternative energy. This, according to researchers, is the field where we are going to see the most amount of growth within the next 3 to 5 years. Now, switching gears, let's shift away a little bit from your company and just you as a CEO. How has becoming a CEO changed you personally? What beliefs have you had to let go in order to be the leader of your company?
I would say it has been a huge humbling experience, because let's say many times when you are not doing the thing, you ignore how much work is involved, how much risk is involved. It has made me rethink about the different entrepreneurs I have worked for that have taken the thing from zero, and I have gained immense amount of respect for them because anything and building any type of business doesn't matter if it's a startup or not. It could be a shop online to sell something, to take it from nothing into something. So gain a lot of respect for that. I have had to, of course, learn a lot of skills and basically relearn things of how I operate because I used to operate in a very technical environment. I was very technical. I was the engineer, the person building the thing. But there is a big difference between building the thing and just understanding if the thing first has to be built and also what people are actually looking for. What are the actual triggers and needs of people that then inform that part? So it has been a huge learning for me, a lot of new skills, learning how people operate, how companies, organizations, everything operates in order to be able to run a business. And then translating that mindset into my company, when I say that is my employees and the people that work for my company also has been a huge challenge because it's something that has to go across the company at this stage. Everybody should be aligned on that. Everybody should be able to switch gears constantly with respect to what customers want and need.
So you had to change between becoming the master of everything with your working hat to becoming the leader necessary for you to become the true CEO, understanding the great scope, but also to trust that those that you hire will also have your vision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So today you would say your company started with one person or perhaps two. To how many employees or your organization has?
So the direct people that work for the company, we're five, but we also have a team of technical and business advisors, three of them, where one of those is the chairman of the board and also one of our first investors. So we're backed by a total amount of 8 people and counting as we speak. We're getting more traction and customers, and we're scaling that as well, at least on the execution side of things, the people building the thing and delivering projects.
For a young company, this is very huge. It's almost one new employee per year, which is hard to scale because obviously at the beginning, you were not hiring employees. So we could see that there's a great curve that has happened exponentially right now so that you can have almost 10 employees so far. Now, looking forward, 5 years from today, everything goes as planned. What does PowerBox look like? And what impact would this company would made on the industry and around the world?
Yeah, I mean, on this topic in particular, I am less grandiose than many other startup founders out there. I am more realistic, let's say. What I want is basically to have an industry standard, a company that is recognized in industry as a very reliable, very dependable company with good technology. And typically, companies might end up being acquired by the bigger players. And I am 100% focused on that more. I do definitely want that acquirer to be a company that aligns with our vision and that can just take us to that next step that we want. But then there is also a whole set of new energy companies that might become public at some point that maybe have a core technology, like a core battery technology or a core renewable energy technology that will also benefit from us. And we're open to being part of those organizations as well. There is also a private equity that will acquire the company and just keep running the business.
So thank you. What is the differentiating factor that would make you an attractive company for one of the big players? What do you offer that is so unique?
Yeah, I would say our approach of starting with customers from the ground up, from very early analytics, metrics, understanding their systems best, what they have right now, and then this capacity of ours to model and give them a good idea of how their systems will operate with these X, Y, and Z technologies. I think that approach is what's gonna generate a lot of interest and a lot of partnership with customers.
Thank you. So we could summarize that you're more than a technology company. You are actually a big data company because just like Meta, you acquire the data and the subscription needed in order to retain clients. So it is really a data company that you are, and we know that data is the most important nowadays. Would you agree with this statement?
Exactly. Precisely, yeah. We are a data company first, and then everything else. That is the baseline of how we stack value on top, right? And that's gonna look like more software features, more partnerships, or even more hardware that we're gonna develop ourselves. Data is the important asset here.
Thank you so much. That is the key point of your company, and we could say PowerBox is really a power of data. Now, rapid fire questions. The biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur, what would it be?
Having a business is hard.
That's so true. Very
Yeah.
good. And the book that influenced your thinking.
The Lean Startup, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It has influenced a lot of my thinking.
Very good. And one habit that has had the greatest impact on your success.
I would say finding a very key angel, so to speak, partner slash early adopter that we been more than a year and a half of that collaboration. That was a big push for us to get to where we are now.
The biggest mistake you've ever done in running your business?
The biggest mistake, I would say, building the thing before it's even asked from the customer. Especially when you start getting funding, you start getting excited and you're like, I need to execute and build and build and build. That doesn't work. That's a recipe for disaster. So I'm glad I learned it early. So that helped me redesign the way we operate. So
Thank you. And one piece of advice for founders building deep tech technology today.
yeah, I would say that even though it seems very difficult to show value without the whole thing being developed, right? There is always resources and ways that you can demonstrate the thing before it's even built, or finding the right people that trust you enough to do some version of it. You need to work with those first early people that will take you to the next step because they are the ones that care the most about what you're doing.
Thank you. That helped you to stay humble. One thing that stand out from today's conversation is that you're not simply trying to build another energy software company. You're trying to give industrial facilities the intelligence, the big data, the smart decisions. And now that vision is much larger than just software. Thank you for sharing your journey, your lessons, and your visions with us. We hope to see you in the next episode of the Amplify Leaders, where we'll go deeper into your gross margin, your revenue, how you want to really scale this, and the vision that you have for the future. Thank you so much once again for your time.
No, thank you very much, Josué, for the opportunity to speak. And I've got a great time talking with you. And I hope we can come to the next interview.
Thank you. Bye bye.